Now that we have seen how to organize qualitative data, we're going to look at how to visualize qualitative data. So the best way, in my opinion, to visualize qualitative data is with a bar graph. There are other ways, but I really like bar graphs, if you ask me. So bar graphs are ways to visualize qualitative data where the frequency or relative frequency is represented by the height of a rectangle that is drawn of equal width for each response. And then there is space in between each rectangle. You have probably seen bar graphs before, but you may not have ever drawn one. So the horizontal axis of our graph is going to represent all of the different outcomes of the variable, and the vertical axis will contain the frequency or the relative frequency. So we're going to draw a bar graph, and we have data that shows the favorite animal from a sample of 20 preschoolers. I think last time this example said kindergartners. Now it says preschoolers. Just wanted to change things up, keep you on your toes. But I believe this is the same data set. So we have different animals that are the favorite for this group of children, whatever grade they're in, the frequency and the relative frequency. So we could do this with the relative frequencies. I'm going to keep things a little bit on the simpler side, and I'm going to do frequencies. We have an example further down that does show how you could do this with relative frequency. So to start, I'm going to draw a y-axis, which is a vertical line, and then a horizontal axis coming off of that. And we want these to be straight, and luckily my app fixes my not straight lines. And then I'm going to create little marks along the horizontal axis for each of these animals. So we're going to have dog here, and then horse, elephant, and I'm trying to keep these evenly spaced apart. I'm kind of eyeballing it, so it's not perfect. If you're doing this on graph paper, or if you're using a template chart, it's a lot easier to make sure that they are evenly spaced apart. But I'm just kind of eyeballing it on this paper. So these little marks that I've drawn so far, those are going to represent the different animals. And I'm just putting those in here for now as little space holders. Now, going up my vertical axis, my up and down axis, I'm going to do little marks for the frequencies. So when I look at my chart here, the highest frequency was that for dogs, and it had a frequency of 7. So I need at least 7 tick marks, and that means 7 or more tick marks going up this vertical axis. So put 1 here, and then 2. And again, I'm trying to keep these evenly spaced out. Mine tend to get closer together as I move further up. So then I overcompensate, and then they get too far apart. And that's okay. All right, so I went up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Okay, and then I'm going to put a label on this guy. These are the frequencies, so I'm going to label this as frequency. And then down here at the bottom, I am going to put a label for each of these tick marks now. So this one is going to be dog. This next tick mark will be for horse. This one will be elephant. I almost ran out of room. And then we have cat and giraffe. Woo! All right, so now it's time to get drawing. So what I'm going to do for each one of these is I'm going to draw a equally sized rectangle going up to the height of the frequency for that animal. So dog has a frequency of 7. So I'm going to draw a line coming off of 7 so that I can kind of help myself do this. And then I want the tick mark for dog to be in the middle of this rectangle. So I'm going to kind of eyeball where I want this to be. And then I want this to be a straight line. And I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist with this, and I spend a lot more time on it than I really should. And this is why computer programs that can do this for me are great, because then I don't spend too much time obsessing over how my rectangles are not perfect. Okay, so there is my rectangle for dog. Now I'm going to move over to horse. Horse has a height of 4, so I'm going to come off of 4. And I know this looks crazy what I've done right now, but this is what I'm going to do so it gets to be the right height. And I'm going to make the rectangle for horse the same width as the rectangle for dog. Woo! And again, I'm very thankful for this app that makes my lines straight for me. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to do a little bit of erasing. Because I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist when it comes to these charts. And then we keep going. So then elephant had a height of 2. And again, we want this to have about the same width. We also want it to actually come all the way down. We don't want these to be floating bars. And I just come in here. If you're doing this with a pencil, it's a little bit harder to do this how I am. So just do your best. Our next one was cat, which had a height of 6. This is where this strategy really helps. Rulers are also really nice when you're doing these by hand. Not gonna lie. Oh no, there we go. Okay. I'm gonna cheat a little bit to get this all the way down to where I need it to be. Okay, there we go. I will stop obsessing because I'm sure you guys are already done and you're just fast forwarding me at this point. Maybe. Maybe you're not. If you're not, I appreciate that. If you have fast forwarded, that's okay. I totally understand. And then our last one. Okay, giraffe. Giraffe. Come on, let's do this. We don't want this to be a 20-minute video just because it took me 10 minutes. Why isn't it straight? Okay, there we go. Okay. I said I was done obsessing, and then I started obsessing again. Giraffe. Okay. And erase, and erase. Erase. There we go. All right, there's our bar chart. They're mostly the same size. The cat one could be a little bit wider. Just gonna cheat that a little bit. Yeah. There we go. All right. And then the last thing we need is a title. Preschoolers' favorite animals. Doesn't have to be very flashy, just something to explain what it is we're looking at. And then if you wanted to, if you didn't spend too long on it, like I already have, you could go in and color in each of these bars, or you could leave them uncolored, like mine. So there we go. We have a bar chart showing the height for each animal, where the height represents the frequency. The bars are all the same size, so we don't have one that's really thick, making it look like there's more than any other. And yeah, so that's our bar chart or bar graph. Another thing or another way to visualize this is with a pie chart. Now, a pie chart takes a circle and it splits the circle into sections based on the percentage for that data value. Pie charts are a bit trickier to make because you have to think about how much of the circle needs to be represented by that, and then you have to divide up the angles of the circle and all that. So we're not going to make one. We're just going to look at one. Pie charts are also my least favorite representation of data because they tend to get misused in the media a lot. The media loves to use 3D pie charts and the pie charts where you take out a little piece and it just skews the data. The media also loves to show you a pie chart where the percentages do not add up to 100%. Either it's below 100% or above 100%. Pie charts should always add up to 100%. Not less, not more. 100%. So we want to be very careful about the pie charts that we're looking at and what it is that we are seeing when we look at pie charts. This is a good pie chart that I have in front of you right now. It adds up to 100% because it's the data that we were looking at before. I haven't made it 3D to try and make some sections look bigger than the others. I haven't pulled out a section to try and make it look all fancy and make you think that that section's important when it's maybe not so important. I'm just showing you the favorite animals and the different shapes. Now, one of the things that this pie chart automatically did that I used that not all pie charts will do is it automatically put the pie chart sections in order from greatest to smallest. So dog was the biggest section at 35%, and then cat, and then horse, and then giraffe or elephant, and then giraffe was the smallest. So going clockwise around this pie chart, the sections are gradually getting smaller. Not all pie charts will do that. This is just unique to the pie chart maker that I used when I was creating this example for you guys. So that's another thing to be wary of is sometimes you might have a teeny tiny little sliver in between two really big sections and it can be really hard to see that section. So a lot of reasons why I personally don't like pie charts, but they are here, they are used a lot, and we just want to be cautious about reading pie charts because sometimes they are used to misrepresent data. A side-by-side bar chart is a great way to make comparisons between groups of data. There are some other ways to use bar charts. They have like stacked bar charts that you can use to make comparisons, which are okay in my opinion. Again, those are ones that are also really beloved by the media. In my opinion, again, my opinion, side-by-side bar charts are better, but the stacked ones are okay. And I don't have any example of those ones in the note, but if you just do a quick Google search of stacked bar charts, you will find tons of them. But here we have the side-by-side bar chart, and we're using it to compare two groups. And typically when you do these side-by-side bar charts, you want to have the relative frequencies on the vertical axis, but they don't always do that. So that's another thing to be careful of is looking at what is the axis label on the left-hand side when you have anything that is comparative. Because that is another way that they like to misrepresent data. So in this one, the side-by-side bar chart is showing the favorite animals, sticking with that theme right now, for kindergarteners, and now we've added fifth graders. So if you cannot see the different colors, The kindergarteners are labeled on top here, and they are all of the groups on the left. And then we have fifth graders, they're this bottom label here, and they are the ones on the right. If we had a third group, they would be labeled below, and then they would be on the right again. So as the labels go, it goes top down with the key, and then left to right in the order that they're presented on the graph. We don't have a third one, so I'm just going to erase those two so we don't get confused. So we want to know which animals have a higher percentage of fifth graders choosing it as their favorite compared to the kindergarteners. So what I want to know is which relative frequencies are higher for fifth graders versus kindergarteners. And the answer is the elephants. There are a higher percentage of fifth graders choosing elephants, and giraffes. There's a higher percentage of fifth graders choosing giraffes compared to the percentage of kindergarteners choosing giraffes. That is one example of a type of question I could ask about this comparative chart. And those are some examples of ways that you can visualize qualitative data.